Hello, my friends. Welcome to podcast number 16. Dr. Fred Bisci was just here, and we had a cool little catching up. I wanted to start the podcast off with the idea that we'd be speaking about athletics, which we eventually got to, but we just started riffing and talking about all sorts of things, and it was a lot of fun. I think you guys are going to like it. So we're going to jump right into that. First, a few little things, a little bit of business to take care of. If you like this podcast, you want to support this podcast, you can grab an ebook on fermentation. It's an awesome book. It's on the website, everydaydetox.org. Pick up a copy. You'll be fermenting vegetables at home in no time, and your belly will thank you for it. And the new space that we are very, very close to having a location for in central New York City. That's all I'll say right now. There's some lease negotiations going on. So hopefully we have a space within 2 days of me saying this right now. We will have a finished signed lease. And the new space is called Vitality. We will be doing colonic therapy because that is what we do. And we will also be doing cryotherapy, which is fucking incredible. Cryotherapy is... it's a cold treatment, and it has profound effects on the physiology. I absolutely love it. I love the way it affects my mood. I love the way it affects my body. I store a lot of tension because I'm stressed about things like starting this new space, and I'll hold a lot of tension in my body. And getting inside of the cryo chamber for 3 minutes can help flush all of that inflammation out of my body, make me feel amazing. So I love it for many, many reasons, physical, mental, and it's very, very cool. So we will be offering those therapies, and we will also be doing dyad meditations and some really amazing things. So to find out when that space is opening, I have not set up the website for Vitality yet. So to find out when that space is opening, you can go to everydaydetox.org and sign up for that newsletter, because I heard a rumor that someone is going to be sending a newsletter sometime soon. And when we open the space, I'll definitely be sending a newsletter. Good news is I've not junked up your inbox with stupid MLM things. I've not congested and constipated your inbox with all sorts of silly little news blips and health tips and nonsense that you don't want. But I am going to tell you when epic stuff occurs, like the opening of the new space, and when podcasts air, that's all going to happen at some point too. You'll be notified of those things. But in the meantime, get on over there, pick up an ebook while you're over there, sign up for the newsletter, and find out when all of our stuff's going on. And I hope you enjoyed this podcast with Dr. Bisci. Natalia Maldonado's on the next podcast, so let's jump right in. So welcome back to another podcast. It's been over a year since you've been on. You were podcast number 1, the first one we launched with you. I'm happy to have you back. I probably have about 4 dozen emails from people that had questions for you, all of whom I have to apologize to because I did not access any of those emails before I had you over today. So I guess we're not going to get to those questions on this one. So my fault.
Thank you very much, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here. I always look forward to this one. You and I are having some kind of a discussion, so thanks for inviting me, and I know we're going to do a great job, and let's see what we can do to help people that are out there listening.
Yeah, I want to talk about athletics today, but I've known you for 22 years.
Yeah.
You realize that? 22 years now. I was 19 years old when I walked into your office.
Well, time flies.
And I don't know if you remember the question I asked you. I asked you how you were talking to me about tissue cleansing and changing my body chemistry and all these things that I had come in. I had questions for you. Mm-hmm. And for the listeners that don't know, when I was 19 years old, I went on a vegan diet. I stopped drinking. I stopped smoking. I did everything in like 5 minutes, and I went through a tremendous cleansing response. So I went to see Dr. Bisci. I walked into his office, and one of the questions I had for you was, you kept talking about the biological cleansing. You talked about the biological healing process, which was a new term to me. I just, it makes a lot of sense now, but 19 years old, I don't know what you were talking about. And you were saying you don't want to interrupt the biological healing process. Yeah. And I kept saying, I think one of the first question I had is, how does beer affect the biological healing process? And you kind of like smirked at me and gave me this look, and I didn't know. It was a serious question. I didn't know, because in my world paradigm and my view of everything, it was like I was like, well, do I really have to stop drinking? I was like, what if I just do it sometimes? You know how like some people have this idea that like if they do something just every now and again or something, it doesn't affect them at all. That's where my that's where my line of thought was. So
Well, sometimes we all have a preconception of how certain things work. Like I've often heard about people say, a lot of people that are into the Bible, they say, well, the Bible says that you could eat anything as long as you pray over it. And I say, well, if you do that, it's like praying over smoking crack. There's natural law that governs the human body. The body is a very sophisticated biological organism. It's really a perfect machine, and it knows exactly what to do. And what you leave out is extremely important, because when you leave out the foods that interfere with a healthy physiology, you're making your body a more efficient biological organism. You have a much better chance of not developing some kind of a degenerative disease or some kind of an infectious disease, because your body is not a good host. The waste that we create and we store up in our body, which is toxic, creates the environment for bacteria to proliferate. That's why when people, at a certain time of the year, when the temperature drops down, most people start to get sick, because when the temperature drops down, the cold weather actually squeezes the body like a tube of toothpaste, squeezes the endogenous material into the internal environment, creates the environment that is nourishment and food for the bacteria, the pathogenic bacteria that are existing within us, and it starts to proliferate. How the body responds to that is that you'll start to sneeze, your body will respond to the pathogenic bacteria that are in us. After the pathogenic bacteria are existing, and it's actually almost like a symbiotic relationship with the human body, because it actually serves a purpose. When you reach to the point where there's stabilization again, and there isn't enough endogenous material for the bacteria to proliferate, then you recover from the process. That's why a lot of people, you hear the old saying that I think it's starve a cold and feed a fever. Mm-hmm. That's another one of those myths that's not really, it's not really true. So in order to detox, when you leave out the foods that offend the natural law that govern the human body, then you're freeing the body's remedial capabilities to start to cleanse your system, to make you more biologically efficient. And if you go far enough, and you start to cleanse the lymphatic system, which is like the garbage disposal system in your house, your body's going to start to improve its efficiency. Not only will it make you a healthier person, but if you make this a lifestyle, you're definitely going to slow down your aging process. I think one of the biggest mistakes we're making is that we're not looking at the human body as a perfect machine, that it's basic design. A lot of the abstract science out there today is actually distracting us from the simplicity of the miracles that the human body can perform.
Well, let's talk about one of those. I want to bring it back, rewind it for a second. So you said endogenous. So just for the listeners, because I remember the first time, because you use the words exogenous and endogenous all the time. Right. And I first heard that when I was 19 years old, sitting in your office, and I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have explained it in a simple,
No, that's what I'm here for.
Okay.
So by endogenous wastes, you mean the wastes that are being held inside the body, stuff that's affecting us internally versus exogenous material that's coming in, like if you were to drink a poison or something like that, right? And so this idea of people getting sick in the winter, this is sort of like the Russian bathhouse. It's when you go from hot to cold. So you go in the sauna and you're expanding your body. And then you go into the cold pool,
you're squeezing,
and everything, and the cell structure contracts down. So the endogenous material you're talking about that squeezes out of the cells into the bloodstream to feed the bacteria is from the contraction of the body. So it's basically old wastes that are being stored in the cells, and then when you do a treatment like that, and like in the winter, you're going in from a hot home, all the homes, everywhere is heated, right? And then you go outside and it's cold and the wind like kind of goes down your neck and it gives you a little bit of a chill. And that's actually a therapeutic process.
Right.
But people think that because they were exposed to that cold, their immune system crashed and they got sick. Right. Or that somebody sneezed on them and now they're going to get sick.
Well, that's based on abstract science. That's some of that is still being taught today. That's the I think that concept, which is taught traditionally, there's a lot of truth in it scientifically, but I think basically that a lot of this, the simplicity of what an unbelievable biological organism the human body is, I think a lot of that is we're being distracted from that purposely because sickness is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And if people ever realized that if we gave the human body free rein, if we knew what we were doing and gave the human body free rein how to operate at optimal efficiency, we would very rarely ever be sick. Now, that might sound like a preposterous statement, but it's a fact. I mean, that's the way the body really works. I remember there was periods where I went through like 30, 35 years ago, I never even had a cold. Once you're aware of, how the human body works and how the chemistry works, that basically, to the most part, that everything is chemical and everything is action-reaction. So when you understand what you have to leave out and you leave it out, the body, in its infinite wisdom, in its chemistry, the science and the biology of how the human body works, the body starts to take reciprocal action based on what you're leaving out, and it starts to improve the internal function of your body, where your mind works better, your everything works better. Once you clean the body up and you give it half a chance, it all ripples right down to the cell, where the basic premise behind the cell is to supply oxygen and nutrients to the cell. Basically, a lot of people today with the standard American diet, and people are eating just random, and they're living on fast foods, the end result is that basically what they're doing is they're strangling their body, their cells, on a cellular level, where the cell is not going to get enough oxygen, enough nutrients. And when that happens, you start to create internal cellular inflammation, and inflammation is the basic premise where most disease begin on a cellular level.
Because they're eating a diet that's depositing waste throughout the system?
It's not really meant to be biological efficient. Processed food is like having a key to a lock that you put into a lock. It's not the right key, but it'll fit into the lock. It's not going to open the lock. Processed food and fast food is the main reason why we're getting sick today. And we're living longer, but we're definitely getting sicker. Now, we're living longer because medical heroics. More people are getting bypass surgery, more people are getting stents put into their system, more people are getting, kidney transplants. The average person is under the impression that if you live to be 70, 80, 90, and you could still dance around the block, that you're some kind of a miracle. No, we were designed to be that way. That's the way we were designed to be. See, processed food is an addiction. It's just like doing a drug. It's a parallel road to substance abuse. Whenever you're doing drugs, right, or the same thing with processed food, it has an effect on the hypothalamus gland, which is at the floor of your brain. That addiction, that craving for processed food, it's almost as powerful. The hypothalamus gland creates the desire to have sex and to eat food. It's the same thing. These are natural desires that we need to proliferate and to nourish ourselves. But we do not need to eat processed food. Unfortunately, it creates a similar type of addiction where that you want to eat that food all the time, and you keep going back to it. And we don't realize what's really happening. And sometimes, it's a real problem with obesity in this country today, because there's a lot of people that unfortunately are obese, and they have this tremendous desire to experience what their taste buds giving that type of experience. It's extremely pleasurable for people that have problems with processed food, which a lot of people in our society do. It's an extremely pleasurable experience.
It lights up the same pleasure centers in the brain than a lot of refined
drugs. It works through the hypothalamus gland. But what happens, it's such a powerful addiction, a lot of people cannot, they can change their, we all know that diets don't work, and there are some diets that help people lose weight, and there are people who use Weight Watchers, and they do keep their weight down, they fluctuate, but eventually that desire, that hidden addiction we have, seems to overcome a lot of people. How I approached that, though, I found out, and this is the way I did it, and this is I honestly believe this is the reason why I have no desire to do anything any different, is that you have to make people realize there's a spiritual factor in all this here. And there's a lot of times that you could really, we could take this out of our own hands, because if you get spiritually grounded in the right way, and a lot of people don't like to hear me say that because they think I'm talking about organized religion. I'm talking about true spirituality. I'm talking about having a personal relationship with our Creator.
Whatever that looks like.
However you want to look, however you really want to look at that. To me, that works like a charm. Everybody I can get to apply that, I've had people that were seriously addicted to drugs stopped like that from one day to the next.
That happened to me. That's how I ended up in your office. Everything happened in 5 minutes because I had a spiritual awakening when I read the autobiography of Malcolm X.
And it happens with food, too.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people that are trying so hard. They're working so hard at it. And what happens is that there's all kinds of triggers, like the social manifestations. A lot of people say, well, I'm really doing good on my diet. I'm losing weight. I'm starting to feel stronger. I'm not depressed. I'm not, I'm not suffering from anxiety. And a lot of people think that's exaggeration, that it's poppycock, or it's quackery, that you could help a person that has some problems that are emotional, psychological by changing their diet. Remember, it's all in your body chemistry. If it affects you in one part of your body, it can affect you in another part of your body. I remember some of the things I went through when I was a young guy. I mean, what changing my lifestyle did for me, it was absolutely amazing. I was a dyslexic. I told you the story. I got booted out of more schools than most people ever went to in their whole lives because I couldn't read and I couldn't speak very clearly. Plus, it opened up my mind to give me this ability to accumulate knowledge and to remember these things. Fortunately, your lifestyle can do unbelievable things based on what you leave out. Frees your body to come to operate, not genetically, but epigenetically, where you're turning on epigenetically, turning different cells on and different cells off. I've seen it work in my life. I've seen it work in I'm sure it's worked in your life.
It was what happened to me when I cleaned up my body chemistry was what happened to my emotional life, my everything, my spiritual life, the way I engaged with the world. It was so incredibly powerful.
No. It's a miracle.
Yeah.
It really is. But that's the way we were designed to function.
And the key to this, I find, is consistency. So the reason, I was really addicted to smoking and drinking, and I don't crave that anymore. Why don't I crave it anymore? Because I don't dabble in it. When people dabble in it, especially with food, which is a little more subtle and it's all over the place. That's part of the problem. People don't understand that that the food does have a drug-like effect in the body. They think, it's just a cookie. What's the big deal? No. But it pulls, their whole chemistry gets pulled into this spiral, and then they end up with a lifelong food drama.
Right. Yeah. Listen, Mike, I mean, I socialize with a lot of people. I'm an outgoing, gregarious type of person. I have all kinds of friends that couldn't care less about what you're eating. And I socialize with everybody, And they don't understand what's going on with me. And years ago, people used to think that I was, they knew me when I was young, and then they saw what happened. They think that, I kind of went off the deep end and everything like that. But I never was the type of guy to try to act like an evangelist or try to force people into making certain changes, to do certain things. I mean, I do try to do that with people that are close to me. I mean, it's pretty hard to have the experience I have and see what can be done and be around people that you develop, you get to like, and you look at them and you see what they're doing. And, I could see clearly that these people are hurting themselves and are going to develop serious degenerative diseases. I remember one time I was at a barbecue with my wife, and some guy had heard about me, he was following me all around. He said, I want to see you eat a hamburger and all that. And I was trying to humor the guy. He didn't understand. He just thought I was fanatically extreme and I could have picked up a hamburger and ate it and it wouldn't bother me. Then he didn't realize that once you live the way I live and you do something a little bit different, it's you feel it immediately because your body is so far removed in its chemistry from that. So, and people don't understand that. They think it's neurotic. They think it's extreme. I'm the opposite of that. I just don't. I've taken chances in my life to find out the truth about certain things that were really risky, that I couldn't find out any other way.
And you did that before anybody else had done anything like that.
I done some of the wildest things that, to find out, of course, there was books written about fasting and intercellular pressure. And, I remember once I did something, it was really dangerous. I didn't realize how dangerous it was.
What are we talking about?
I mean, the intercellular gas pressures. I didn't realize how dangerous it was till after I did it. I mean, it was really dangerous.
So what do you mean? But what did you do that was dangerous?
Well, it's something I really shouldn't go into. It's about pushing the food through you, where you actually create a vacuum where your body just squeezes everything out very rapidly.
Well, this is the art. This is what colonic therapy is about, in a sense, and this is what any clean diet is about. So, but you were doing it at an advanced level. So,
Oh, this is very, very rapid. It's actually exponential. It happens very, very quickly.
so when you're eating a raw food diet or a clean diet or a plant-based diet, part of the magic is that there's these electrically charged fibers. You're absorbing waste out of the body, and they're leaving you very quickly. So things aren't stagnating and building and creating pressure, but they're actually creating a reverse pressure through the system. Mm-hmm. When you get a colonic, you get a very rapid release of waste from the core of the body. Mm-hmm. That's why sometimes someone can get up off the colonic table and feel a little spacey. Usually they feel very good. Sometimes people don't feel well because of what it's unlocked biochemically. But
that's because they had so much endogenous waste.
Yeah, so
a lot of that endogenous waste. Don't forget, there's a ripple effect. So when you pull it's like having a sink, right? You have some dirt in the trap, and the sink is clogged up. You open up the trap, you pull out the trap, and then everything's going to drain out very rapidly from the sink. That's what you're doing when you're giving a colonic to a degree, and you understand the ebb and flow of the gases. So some of the stuff, the reason why some people get lightheaded and dizzy, because you pull the trap out of the sink, and then the body reacts. Everything is chemical. Everything is action reaction. Some of the flow is going to come out of the cells, and people are going to get groggy. Or sometimes, how many people that have gotten colonics, the next day they don't feel good because you're opening things up.
Right.
And
I always try to explain.
I'll never go for a colonic again. They don't realize they should go for another colonic. That's what they should do.
Yeah, continue that process.
Right.
It's one of the most valuable quotes I have ever got from you was, "Don't try to cure the cure." Right. So people don't understand what the curing process is.
Right.
We automatically think, "I don't feel good. We got to stop this." But sometimes it needs to be invited a little bit,
right? Because
you need to go through that process.
It has to be assisted, you know.
So you were doing something that was like next level to that, where you were creating a vacuum through your system so strong that you were operating at a low gas pressure.
I knew it was a miraculous thing. I knew it was miraculous. It took me 10 years to fully understand what a miracle it really was. And what it did for me, I actually had to back off because I have to be very careful what I do in my own life. Otherwise, because it always wants me to move further ahead, which I can't do. I could actually move further ahead.
You mean your body's chemistry wants you to get cleaner and cleaner?
Well, I got to be careful because from what I did when I was doing that, it took me into an emotional psychological state that my wife pleaded with me to stop because things were happening to me that was kind of it was amazing, but it was a little disturbing for her because she just didn't. First of all, it kept me very, very thin, but it had me be able. I could perceive and interpret certain things very rapidly. I still could do that. If somebody, that's why I respond well to questions because it kind of opens up something that's taken place that I developed by doing that.
So you were very thin, and then you were having what? Some type of advanced
perception and how you apply logic and almost preconceiving something, and you can make it extremely much more intuitive. It's like it sharpens your senses. It's like looking at a dog. A dog's first sense of communication is its smell. We should have a much more powerful sense of smell. Well, what happened when I did that, it gave my sense of smell. I don't want to be vulgar, but when somebody walked into the room, it was a female or a male, I could tell the difference. I could tell the difference, and my wife didn't believe that, so I showed her that it could be done. So there's things you could do, and I knew who walked into the room. That are people that I was familiar with. I don't know if I should go into talking about this. This sounds like wild stuff. I could tell who it was by recognizing the odor. Now I can't do that now because when you were doing what I was doing there, it was absolutely unbelievable. I don't know why I'm even discussing this. I usually don't discuss this.
I know.
Because it's you.
I know you don't.
I
think I pulled you in.
Because people are going to misunderstand what I'm saying here. They're going to think it's some form of hallucination, but it's definitely not.
This whole podcast came to be because I called you on your 86th birthday, which was about 2 weeks ago, and I said, "How you doing?" And you said, "I just got back from physical therapy. I've been hitting the weights really hard lately."
Yeah.
You look better now than you did 5 years ago.
Well, I don't know about that.
No, you do. I'm telling you, you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But listen. And don't forget, I always got a lot of stress in my life. Always. There's always something going on. Who's dying, who's sick. Plus, I got family, things I deal with my family, you know. And I'm the type of guy, I can't get it through my thick head that I don't have to try to carry everybody else's burdens, you know. Sometimes I look at people, I see certain things going on, I say, maybe I should tell them. I got to learn that, you know, a lot of people don't want to know what you see and what's going on. As I said, at the time I was at that barbecue, that guy started to bother me, and he said, I want to see you eat a hamburger and all that type of stuff. I looked at the guy, I knew that guy was in trouble. And my wife said, don't let him get you mad, don't get that, because my wife knows that if somebody pushes me enough, I could get a little aggravated, you know. She said, no, he's not bothering me. I said, but I'll tell you something about he's in trouble. You better tell your girlfriend, it was a girlfriend's father, you better take him to see a doctor.
What did you see in him?
Well, he had cancer. He was dead 6 months later. I knew the guy was a sick guy.
You can tell just by looking at him?
Well, I know the guy. I know things weren't working right with him. That's all. That's not that hard to do.
Mm-mm.
You don't have to be it's not rocket science. The human body is designed to live a certain way. It's not designed to eat processed food. Everything that works is based on the concept of what you leave out. When you do a juice cleanse, you're leaving out everything. You're just getting the enzymes, the vitamins and minerals that come from the juice. You're giving the body the vital force to carry out this cleanse. It ain't like you're doing the water fast. You leave everything out. The body goes straight to the endogenous waste where you have, you know, real discomfort or even some risk to some degree, you know. So today it's being made simple. And, of course, the computer's loaded with, nutritionists and health coaches that encouraging people to do similar things. But every lifestyle, every diet, anything that works is based on the concept of what you leave out, whether you know it or not. People are talking about all different diets, the paleo diet, or you forget about all the diets I've seen in the last 60 years, you know, from the pineapple diet to the Mongolian diet, whatever.
So let me ask you this, because I wanted to start this talking about athletics. Actually, I was going to theme this podcast around athletics because of the fact that I called you on your birthday and you said that you've been hitting the weights really hard and you have a history of athleticism. Right. It's really interesting. The cleansing part of the health food world is sort of taken a back burner now, mm-hmm. and the animal rights part is sort of taken a back burner, and the fitness part is huge. Right. That's the big part about vegetarianism, veganism, eating a healthy diet, and now the whole paleo thing has jumped in there. And I know you're doing work with athletes now because you're about to partner up with Spartan Race mm-hmm. in some way. Right. And I saw the recipes that they were asking you to review and stuff like that, and I could see the conflict. I could see the quality is getting better, but I could see the conflict in the food chemistry. And I look through everything through the lens of my colonic therapy practice. So, what is the perfect fuel then for high-performing athletes? Or even not high-performing athletes, but somebody that is trying to be a high-performing athlete or someone that's trying to maximize their athletic potential. I don't just mean professionals, but I mean, because we had talked about, you said biological aging, and a lot of the diets that are being prescribed now for building strength, building muscle, and increasing athletic performance seem to not be the best diets for longevity. So what would you recommend for people to have?
They aren't, you know what I mean? So when you take somebody that's a weightlifter, you know, there's different types of weight training. A lot of people now are training strictly, they're either training for fitness where they're using light weights and they're jumping up on boxes and using kettlebells and
CrossFit.
CrossFit and all those type of things. And, they want to have a sculpted physique and have a six-pack and all that type of stuff. And usually cases like that. In the majority of cases, a lot of the trainers in gym are recommending high-protein diets where the amount of protein in their diet is higher than normally that I believe to be healthy to live for longevity. Because when you're eating more protein and you're eating less carbs, protein and the fat that comes along in animal protein, and basically what they're talking about is animal protein.
Mostly, yeah. But some vegans are into high-protein diets too now.
That's a little bit different, though. You can do the same thing, but even the vegan proteins, right, and you eat an animal protein. First of all, animal protein is 68% nitrogenous metabolites, 68% waste, nitrogenous waste. That means your body has to get rid of it. That takes energy. That takes a certain amount of caloric energy to get rid of it. But if somebody's a vegan and they're using vegan protein, it's not 68% nitrogenous waste. I don't remember the exact figure. I think it's about 18%, and it depends upon what it's from. Because the nitrogenous waste, a lot of it is the waste that the animal that you're eating, consuming, was trying to get rid of.
Because you're basically eating all the waste that would have filtered out through its body, but they're
Right.
still trapped up in the cell structure
Well,
of the muscle.
uric acid, that's why a lot of people have gout, you know.
Yeah.
So you don't get gout from eating protein from a vegetarian source. You're not going to get gout from eating, nuts or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You might have purines, might have something to do with it from beans. But what happens is that when you're eating a diet like that that's high in animal protein, and like come along with the diet, like the paleo diet, I think the recommended amount of protein is 19 to 30% is what they generally recommend. When you get that much protein, what it does, you actually, and you're not eating a lot of sugars. Like now with the paleo diet, they recommend you eat fruit. But years before that, they recommend that you didn't even eat fruit, that was
Right.
vegetables. And what happens, that you're going into a ketogenic diet, you're going into producing ketones because you're utilizing body fat. You're burning body fat. You're burning off, that's why you look so muscular. You have a six-pack. Now, is it effective? When you're eating more protein and you're eating a high-protein diet and using, exercising with the weights and you're using heavy resistance, the reason why people are doing that is to have a huge physique, 18, 19-inch arms, be muscular, have a six-pack, have 29, 30-inch legs.
So it encourages muscle growth for the
Right.
protein, and it's a poor source of fuel. So you're burning your own body fat because your body's actually not getting the carbohydrates that it would in the
Well, it's not getting
carbohydrate
enough
diet.
if you're training heavy, because when you're training heavy and you're training hard, you need a certain amount of fuel. If your body runs out of fuel, you're not gonna have a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
I found that out years ago when I first started eating a raw diet. I was doing a lot of running, a lot of training, and I couldn't I couldn't believe it. I couldn't run up to my potential till I started eating a lot more fruit. And then I would buzz me right off. I actually found out a little later than I wanted to because I was really competitive as a runner. I wanted to be, but I wasn't able to be as competitive I could have been. But the same thing with the weights. When you're training very, very heavy, you only need about 10 to 12% more protein. What you need is more calories too. So people get lost in the maze. If you're a marathon runner, by eating a lot more protein like a bodybuilder, it's not going to make you a more efficient, marathon runner.
Different
if you're
types of
running the 50
athleticism,
miles. It's
right.
different type. If you're a marathon runner, you're not going to need more protein. You're only going to need a little bit more protein, but you're going to need more fuel. You're going to need more gasoline. It's like driving a car long distances. You need more gasoline when you're driving a car long distances. So if you're a marathon runner and you're training 80 miles a week, you need more carbohydrates. What are you going to get it from? Starches, starches. You can do it with starches if you're into being a vegan. Or
Want some
can
water
do,
here, Fred?
No.
You have some?
You
No.
can do it with starches or you could do it with sugars. So there was people in, like the Peruvians, hundreds of years ago, they ate a starch-based diet. If they didn't eat the starches and they weren't eating the fruit, their enemies would have come in, killed them and raped their women because they wouldn't have the strength or the energy to defend themselves. That's what happens a lot in history. If you look back in history, the Romans, there's certain things, certain cultures, ate certain foods to keep them strong so they could protect their homeland, and protect their women. So people we have to look at the basic biological function of the human body. Now, is having 20-inch arms, being able to bench press 500 pounds, and to do the things you have to do with your diet to achieve that goal, if that's your goal, that's the best way to do it. You're not going to have 18, 20-inch arms on a raw food diet. It's not going to happen. When you're eating a raw food diet, you can eat tremendous amounts of food. You're not really going to gain that much weight. You're just going to be overeating and put yourself to sleep. Or have to work harder at night when you're on self-dialysis. When you're sleeping at night, you're on self-dialysis. So the answer to this question is to, if you want to be an athlete, right? If you want to be a weightlifter, you have to make certain adjustments. And you could still be on a very healthy diet. If you want to be an endurance athlete, you have to make certain adjustments. But what I have come to the conclusion, after many years ago when I was a young guy, knocking myself out, training like an animal, a wild man, and training for hours and running extremely long distances, it was all ridiculous. Had nothing to do with becoming a healthy person. It actually caused, free radical damage. It actually can cause your body to break down. That's why a lot of people that ran ultramarathon distance and everything, they trained so hard, they were unbelievable athletes. As they got older, they had trouble walking. They damaged their joints and everything like that. And that happened to me. I ran through a marathon once where it was below zero. I got frostbite, my ear cracked open, I had all kinds of problems. Luckily, I was on this type of diet because I probably wouldn't have recovered that well. I would have had frostbite whenever the temperature dropped down.
That was the marathon where it was, I don't remember the temperature, but you were actually running the marathon, but you were pushing someone in a wheelchair.
No,
too, right?
that was something else. That was in New York City. Now, this was the prevention marathon in Pennsylvania where they had a blizzard and they should have called it off. So I called the guy up the night before because I rented a motel. And he says, no, we're plowing the roads. The storm is going to be over. Come on down. Well, the storm wasn't over. There was a blizzard going on with people running. They had to cart people off and send them to the hospital. And me being it was ridiculous what I did. I mean, I suffered the consequences of doing it. And, it's really, the point I'm trying to make is that when you train, if you're an elite athlete and you're doing all these super Herculean events, it's extremely important that you understand that you have to nourish your body correctly so you can do this and recuperate and not damage yourself. Because what a lot of these people are doing, they're stimulating themselves. They're walking around with a cup of coffee constantly. They're eating a lot of processed food that will give you a quick, fast,
Bulletproof coffee is really popular now, putting butter or coconut oil into a cup of coffee.
Right.
From a colonic perspective, the protein diet is horrible.
Yeah.
It needs to be balanced out completely. And for some reason, all of my friends that are really stacked, that are, bodybuilders, or not even bodybuilders, but just like kind of CrossFit type of people, they always end up with colitis, some type of ulcerative colitis. And if you do a colonic on someone like that, it's horrible.
Inflammation down there.
Yeah.
The inflammation turns into ulceration. What happens if the food if it isn't getting, when you're eating a lot of animal protein, it's not going to pass through you as quick unless you're eating a tremendous amount of fibrous vegetables. It has to get through you quickly. If the transit time of your fecal material is extremely important, if it's laying around inside you, it's going to cause, fermentation, inflammation, ulceration. You're going to have a problem.
Yeah, I see it all the time.
Right.
So, and there's no question that a banana smoothie with some spinach and an apple in it is just going to drop right out of the body and not leave any residue behind. But so what you're saying, though, is it all depends on what the goals of the athlete are then. If you're trying to stack weight, you're going to have to eat more protein. Plant protein is better, but make sure you're balancing even that out with lots of vegetables to make sure it's not causing inflammation and stagnating in the intestine. But a starch-based diet is probably not going to put any weight on you, but might be good for endurance athletes.
Well, you could with a starch-based diet, if you combine the starches with the vegetables, you could be built like a gymnast. You could do well with it. Mm-hmm. You could do that. There's different camps. I'm not a dogmatic person, so everybody puts all their, all the value in what they've been doing, what their experience. Like when you talk to a raw fooder, there's some people that are truly 100% raw. They don't think there's anything else to do, And there's other people that are eating a diet where they're including a lot of fruit. They think that there's no other way you could do it with starches, or there's no other way to accomplish to be reasonably or be in good health unless you're doing it the one specific way that they've experienced. Now, I've seen plenty of people that eat some clean animal protein, right? Clean, organically grown, in moderation, in a plant-based diet, and they did very well. Is that the way to go if you have a serious disease like cancer? No, I don't think so, in my opinion. But the thing is, everybody's arguing about their approach, their interpretation, the way they're looking at it, not looking at the body, the natural, or the way the human body is designed. The human body has the ability to adjust to a reasonable amount. When you're leaving out all the processed food, it has the ability to adjust outside the optimal diet. I won't get into what I think the optimal diet is because then I'm just going to be creating, more, confusion. I'll use
Well, let me say this, and this is the definition that I've given to food. So when somebody, because we're all at different levels and different places, and there's transitions necessary, and everybody has different goals. So when somebody asks me, should I eat this? Is this good for me? How does what is it? What's the right food to eat? This is the definition. You tell me if you like this definition.
Right.
There are three things that qualify a food as a health food or not, whether or not it's going to serve your body or not. The first part is everything that every book on health is written about, which is probably the smallest part of the equation, and that's what a food delivers. So we want the phytonutrients and the enzymes and the trace minerals and the blah, 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 and all those little things, right? So we want to get nutrient-dense food. The next part is food as a cleanser. So what a food removes. So when you're looking at a food, trying to figure out if it's going to serve you or not, you want to know if that food is actually going to remove, waste out of your system. Not only the chemical waste that we have now, but the metabolic waste that we build up, all the dead cells and dead bacteria in the intestine and everything like that.
Right.
And the other part is the flip side of that, and that's what a food doesn't leave behind. So the difference between a cheeseburger and an apple, well, there are a few differences, but one of the major differences is that a cheeseburger might deliver something into your system, but it removes nothing and it leaves a trail of sludge behind, where an apple will actually go in, deliver its nutrients, leave nothing behind, and pull waste out with it. So you always want to look. So I always say, look at a food choice or a meal or a plate of food with that criteria. Is the food going to retain waste in your body, or is it going to release waste out of your system?
Well,
and that'll let you know if you should eat it.
People are eating a high-protein diet, and you're not getting enough of a plant-based diet, because we have to look at what the fiber actually does. That's why a lot of medical people recommend that you take a couple of tablespoons of fiber, because it grabs everything up, it pushes everything through like a broom. So I think you're 100% right myself.
Yeah, so that's a great way I think, for people to look at a meal. And what I tell people that eat animal protein is just that doesn't quite meet that criteria. So as long as you get the nutrient-dense part of it, right, and you're getting quality food, you need to make 80% or 95% of your diet all food that meets the three criteria. You need to balance it out.
You just described to push it through.
Yeah.
You need some roto-rooter effect to push it through.
Yeah, to carry it right through.
Otherwise, if it just lays in there, then you're talking about accelerated aging. Or listen, in my observation over all the years, and many, many years ago, I watched a lot of old-time strongmen. A lot of the old-time strongmen, by coincidence or by choice, I don't really know, they were butchers, like Carl Swoboda and Louis St. Cyr. They were the strongest men in the world. I mean, they were guys that weighed 350 pounds, and I think Louis St. Cyr did a backlift of 550 pounds. You get under like a trestle and pick it up, But they were all butchers. But
by trade, they were butchers.
They were butchers by trade. I used to wonder whether they ate so much food, they got into being a butcher because they wanted to eat so much meat it would be available, or that was a coincidence that they ate a lot of meat and they ended up being strong. They were huge guys, but they were all huge, 350 pounds, even bigger, 6'3", but they all died young. Mm-hmm. Louis St. Cyr died when he was 56, Carl Swoboda. And then I remember a lot of old-time strongmen like George Hackenschmidt, the Russian Lion, who was unbelievable guy, a Russian guy. He was a wrestling champion and a strongman. He had an unbelievable physique. Those people had the type of physiques that they were not exaggerated. They were classical. When it comes to symmetry, they had classical physiques. They had almost perfect development. They had perfect calves. The size of their calves almost were identical to the size of their biceps. That's like a classical symmetrical perception of what it was supposed to be. Well, he was in his late 80s when he changed his diet to a vegan diet. Why did he do that? Otto Arco, another guy, an old-time strong man. Sandow, another all-time strong man that had a classical physique.
They became vegans.
Well, they stopped eating so much animal protein, and they might not have given it up completely. But I remember many of those people that I used to be very interested in history and that type of stuff, because it caught my attention. I was fascinated. That's why I did so much self-experimentation. When I was working out with the weights, I developed, because of all this thinking about it, I developed my own system of training, which was like the overload method of training. I dug a hole in the garage. I used to stand in the pit stand in the pit to do deadlifts standing in the pit. So I was using to stand because I could use unbelievably heavy weights. So just take weights off a rack and just move it a little bit, like 700 pounds. You could move it. You get so strong. Then when you go to, I wasn't into bodybuilding. I was into Olympic style lifting. So you had to develop speed and you had to develop strength. You know, with the strength without the speed, you couldn't be a good Olympic type lifter. The speed without the strength, you couldn't support what you could get up in the air. So it's totally different. But then I come to realize that if you were properly trained, that if you did the overload system and you worked out extremely hard to exhaustion and then you waited a whole week, you made tremendous gains. See, if you did that and you stimulated yourself, you're going to get injured. That's why when I was a kid, I never got injured. Lifting extremely heavy weights, I never got hurt.
So you were working out once a week?
No, when I did the overload system, I used to work out once a week. Yeah, because you couldn't overload. See, you're overloading.
Yeah.
You know, when you overload, and then there's a lot of you're bringing in a lot of nerve energy. Like when you used to go, you could actually bring in, when you're going to attempt a heavy lift, I don't know how it is now, I don't really know, but if you were attempting a heavy lift and somebody was, what I would do is that you would breathe, do a lot of forceful breathing, because when you're forceful breathing, when you're going, and you do that a lot, your body starts to secrete adrenaline because your body interprets that as that you're going into some kind of a fight or flight response. So it made you stronger. I knew it made me stronger when I did it, so I used to start to do it. So breathing is extremely important. The opposite effect is taking place when you're doing the martial arts, where you're into, a lot of people are into yoga and into the martial arts, where you're controlling your breathing, you're doing diaphragmatic breathing, you're affecting your body on a cellular level. When you were lifting weights, it was the opposite. You were actually doing something else. You were actually giving yourself immediate stimulation, releasing a certain amount of adrenaline, so you would be stronger. You were into fight, you definitely were stronger. I remember there was times when, if I didn't do that, there were lifts that were right up near the best I could do. I couldn't make them. But if I did that, I would step back and rest, close my eyes, focus. Then I would start breathe, relax. Then I would get up there, start puffing away like a steam engine. Boom, I would make that lift. It made that much of a difference.
And what were you doing in the pit? You had a pit? Why?
No.
So you couldn't drop the weight?
No. If you were doing deadlifts, if you're doing deadlifts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing deadlifts off the ground. A lot of people hunch their back and they bend over to do a deadlift. That's the wrong way to do it. Because what you're doing, you're putting stress right on the middle of your back. So what you do is you arch your back. Mm-hmm. You're actually pointing your behind, your butt. You have to stick it way out. And then you squat down and you lock in the muscles in your back. You're not going to get hurt.
I see. So
You'll be able to come up
at your knee level or something like that? That's why you were in the pit?
So I was in the pit at knee level, and I was shooting a couple 100 pounds more than I would do. And the thing is, see, that's where your mind is so important. You breathe, right? If you were saying, I don't know if I could make this, that's when you used to get hurt. The mind would bring into play more quick twitch muscles. You wouldn't get hurt. You could actually do things. You could actually come to a standstill where you couldn't do it. You were bringing all the quick twitch muscles. You were bringing everything into play. Even though you couldn't do it, you gave it a maximum effort, you didn't get hurt. You had to put the weight down. See, that's why I figured that out in my own training.
How long was your workout session that you were doing it just once a week?
When I used to, before I did that?
No, when you were doing that.
Before I do that, I used to work out like 3 times a week. I used to follow overall body routine. When I started doing that, it was like between 4.5 and 5 hours.
Oh, so you were working out for 4.5 to 5 hours.
You had to work out. You worked out to actually little exhaustion.
Wow.
With heavy weights. Then, I used to know when to stop. Then you would rest the whole week. You wouldn't work out for a whole week. Give your body to recuperate from being so extreme.
Wow, and you would see gains from that, huh?
Oh,
yeah.
It's the fastest way to get stronger.
Amazing. I
But
didn't know
wouldn't
that.
try it. Nobody should try that unless you know what you're doing and you did all the pre-training so you don't get hurt. You don't want to do that if you're just starting out working out with the weights. You're going to cripple yourself.
Well, I did hear that. I heard that it's better to have a longer recovery time these days. Like there's some the science is catching up to that now.
Listen,
Yeah.
overtraining in anything you're doing is a mistake.
Yeah.
You pay for it later. I don't care what it is. It's no good.
Tell me what you're doing for Spartan Race.
Oh, well, we're working with the Spartan Race Group. I'm their consultant nutritionist. I'm going to be the person that makes the decisions for them when it comes to anything about nutrition. We're going to have, they have a website, and it's going to be connected to our website. They're going to be doing, I think, either radio shows or television shows where I'll be, be able to, to present some of my, my experience and what I've done to, to help some of the elite athletes. They have unbelievably elite athletes that doing unbelievable things, So, I think it's very important to, for some of these athletes that are ex-Olympians and doing these Herculean endurance events, that they have to be made aware that sometimes that you have to make sure you're taking better care of the machinery, your body, because when they get older, they might have problems that they don't necessarily have to have if they're, rather than just stimulate themselves, make sure they're getting everything they need, all the nutrients that they need, and getting a rest, recovery, drinking, enough water, and doing all the things that we were just talking about to realize that the body is governed by natural law, and for every amount of exertion, there should be a reciprocal amount of, you have to recuperate. You don't want to, instead of recuperate, you don't want to stimulate, because when you stimulate in place of recuperation, then that's where your body is going to, start to have injuries, break down, or start to age,
And the magical piece to that, the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand, is it's not just about getting the healing qualities from the foods, but it's about what's happening at night when you're sleeping. So if you're really working your body and you're doing a lot of wear and tear, you're going to have to recover deeply throughout the night. But if you eat too late at night, or if you're eating food that's generating a lot of waste in your system, your body's never going to get to the cellular repair from the workout that you're doing. So you kind of, then you're drinking bulletproof coffee in the morning just to feel good and get to your next workout.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
You're trying to drink what you call bulletproof coffee. I never heard that term, but that's really applied very well. You have to remember your body, we have a body clock, and the body clock is dictated by circadian rhythms. So the circadian rhythms is really is a big factor in our metabolic process. So when you eat late at night, you eat 11 o'clock at night and you go to bed, your body, you're just messing up, your body clock and the circadian rhythms. Because when you go to sleep at night and you go into REM sleep, what you're really on a self-dialysis process. Your body is actually metabolically trying to go through this whole process to restore your body, recover from the day's exertion, physical and mental, to clean up your body from the food that you ate. So you actually, by the time you wake up in the morning, your body, your system is supposed to be clean. You're supposed to clean up the mess that we made the day before. Some people, as you know, as a colon hydrotherapist, they spend their whole life, they never really clean up, they never go through that process.
Right.
They never go through that process. That's why people that, once you understand fasting, going without food, what it really means, and why you shouldn't eat late at night, and that you give yourself plenty of time to actually fast and break the fast in the morning. When you break the fast, breakfast, you're actually supposed to be breaking the fast where your system has been able to, relatively clean itself up. And if you're doing this properly, you wake up in the morning, your system, after you have a bowel movement, which you should have as soon as you get up, you should go right into the bathroom and and it's all over. You should feel supercharged. You really shouldn't have to eat breakfast to give you energy, because you ate everything you ate yesterday, and your body's been emptied out, right? So you're not spending any energy. When people eat a breakfast, especially a high-protein breakfast, sure, it makes you feel good because you're stimulating yourself, and they think, you're keeping your blood sugar up. You're not keeping your blood sugar up. That's detox they're experiencing. Once you're clean, you don't experience detox. And when you wake up, you feel vibrant, ready to go, and you have all this energy from yesterday. You don't have to eat, to have energy. You got energy from yesterday's food, and you don't have to divide your energy to expend the energy to digest your breakfast. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, hunger in the morning is the biggest challenge, especially with athletes, because they want to eat protein first thing in the morning. And people say, well, I got all this gas and I got all this.
Yeah, but
and then they come in and I say, okay, I want you to skip breakfast in the morning and just drink water. And they're like, oh, I don't feel good. I need to,
Well, they don't feel good because they're detoxing.
Yeah, I used to be the same way. I used to wake up and think about food all the time. But like, what time is it now? It's almost 1 o'clock, and I don't think anybody here has eaten any food. I actually forgot to put the grapes out that I bought when on my way over here. So Rory's like, "Where are my grapes?" So I forgot to put food out. But we feel fine, and we're functioning, and we don't have headaches, and we're not dying.
No.
But it's a process you have to go through. That's a challenging part.
You have to have somebody show you the process, because the process is actually contradictory to the logic we've developed based on the wrong system. We got the wrong formula. Well, 1 and 1 is 2. It's not 11. We're thinking 1 and 1 is 11. Somebody has to show you that 1 and 1 is 2.
Well, you're going to straighten that out for the folks at Spartan Race, yeah?
I don't know whether they're going to put me in the cage or they're going to listen to me,
No, they're going to listen. It's going to be good. It's going to be good stuff.
I don't know.
Let's wrap it up here, because I
Okay.
did notice it is almost 1 o'clock, and I know
All
we
right.
have a schedule, and we're going out to celebrate your birthday today. So
okay.
even though we're a couple of weeks behind, so
That's all right.
thank you for coming onto the podcast again. People are
My
going to be
pleasure.
really excited when this comes out. All the listeners, please go to everydaydetox.org, pick up an ebook, sign on to the newsletter, find out when we're going to get. When we're going to be launching the new space. So that's going to be announced through the newsletter, and maybe at the end of this podcast. I don't know if we have a address yet. But anyway, thank you for coming over. What's the new URL now for your website? yourhealthyjourney.org. Excellent. So you can find Dr. Bisci, yourhealthyjourney.org. And thanks so much.
Oh, it was a pleasure. A lot of fun. It's always a lot of
Yeah.
fun. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. Thanks, Mike.